Landslides are common here in the early spring, and that means extra policing of the trails and backwood areas where we know people go. Most of the time we'll send out a few helicopters, but around 3 years ago, we went massively over budget after a fire in the main lodge, and we couldn't afford to bring them out. This meant we had to go in by foot. KD and I teamed up and headed out to southwest, which is mostly mountainous terrain and a couple of small rivers. Essentially, we get paid to go out there and camp for a few weeks. If we find a landslide, excellent. If not, excellent. Either way, we came out on top. KD and I are both fast in the woods. We made great time. Our designated quadrant was about 15 miles from the trailhead. Relatively close, but not frequently used due to the steep incline. Both of us are familiar with the area, and we were in good spirits. We camped out about a mile from our target to eat dinner and turn in early. This is back when I still slept relatively well, so I fell asleep with no real issue. KD said that it took her about 5 minutes to wake me up. She was crouched over my bag with her hair in all directions and her eyes slightly unfocused. "Stop," I said, pushing her away. She blinked and frowned. "Something's yelling," she mumbled. "You got the blinker?" I didn't understand what she wanted, so I tried to tell her that she was sleepwalking, but she kept insisting on the blinker. She made a sweeping motion with her hand. "Flashlight?" I said. I pointed at the bag by the fire pit. She dug through it. "What is it?" "I don't know," she said. She pushed her bag to the side and turned the light on the ground. "Something get in there?" She shook her head. "I don't know. It was weird." "Well, what do you want to do?" She kept the flashlight trained on the ground. "I don't know." "Go to sleep," I said. She blinked a few times and dragged her bag back. She kept the flashlight on, but I was too tired and I shut my eyes. I'm not sure if I fell asleep or not, but KD was shaking me again, and this time she was awake. "What?" "Listen," she said. From somewhere close by, we could hear a strange sound. I heard it in the very back of my ear, and if I even breathed too loudly, I drowned it out. I cocked my head to try and figure out where it was coming from, but it was coming from all directions. Kind of distant, intermittent tone that I wasn't able to identify. "What is that?" I asked. "No idea," she whispered, looking over her shoulder. "But I've been hearing it for an hour, and it's not going away. Or coming closer." "What do you think?" I asked. "I have no idea." We sat on my bag and listened to the sound. I got up and walked in a wide circle around the camp. It was almost impossible to tell, but I began to suspect that the sound was getting louder when I passed by the north end of the camp. KD got up and grabbed the light, and I took my rifle off my pack. The sky was clear, so there was a good amount of light, and from all around us we could hear deer. 9 times out of 10, the mysterious rustling visitors here at night is the deer. Every so often, the beam of the flashlight passed over a set of eyes, low to the ground, and I cut them a wide berth. The females won't generally become aggressive, but the males are assholes, especially in the early spring. We'd gone maybe a quarter of a mile, and the sound was definitely getting louder. We started to call out, and the sound seemed to respond. We started to jog, and the beam of her flashlight bounced off the trunks of the trees. We jogged faster, and the sound got louder. It was a man's voice. It was coming from somewhere above us. We called out, identified ourselves as rangers. But the voice stayed constant, a wordless, muffled wailing. The sound got a little louder, and KD made a hard right, slowing down fast enough that I almost ran into her. The sound was right there, right in front of us. But I couldn't see anything. I dropped down and I felt along the ground, put my ear to it. But it wasn't there. I spun in a circle, calling out. KD grabbed my arm. "Russ," she said. "What is it?" She was pointing at something on a large boulder about 10 feet from us. The flashlight bled whitewashed the surface, and I adjusted the beam. Something on the boulder was moving slightly, something small and pale. It wiggled as I walked forward, and the sound continued to get louder. Whatever the thing was, it was firmly embedded in the rock. Nothing about it was familiar, and I was curious. I picked up a stick and I poked it very gently. It responded but didn't move away. I leaned forward slowly and carefully, my hand near my face in case the thing had some kind of spray defense. Something on the back of the pale thing caught the light for the briefest of moments. Something came together, and I moved away very slowly. KD watched me with wide eyes, and I stood in front of her, squinting into the light. "What is it?" she asked. I turned, and I looked at it. "Russ?" I led her over, and I helped her get a closer look. She reacted to the sound, flinched away when she saw the back of the thing, and she fell on her butt and scooted away, her eyes wide. We have to get it open," I said. She pointed. "We need to." We looked at the boulder, where the sound was still coming from, and where the tip of the man's finger wiggled. We searched the surface of the boulder, took rocks and rang them against the sides. The screaming got louder. We yelled at each other and pounded on the boulder, and neither of us would leave to get help, and the man screamed and screamed from the inside of the boulder. I kept turning to the rifle, even though I knew it wouldn't help. I pounded the surface with my fists. I thought about cubic inches, how much the man was screaming. I told him to conserve his air, but all he would do was scream, and when we realized there was nothing we could do, we sat with him until the next afternoon. When the screaming finally stopped, when the finger was still. We packed up camp, kept going to the target area, and spent days searching the land. On our way out, we passed by the boulder, and the finger was gone. The rock around it clawed and chipped. I hadn't really thought about it much ever since. Good evening, kids. It's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video. If you guys are looking for a nice hot beverage to enjoy while listening to scary stories, or if it's still snowing out where you guys are, because I keep seeing that everywhere, then might I suggest you check out etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocle tea. It's my wife's tea shop. She has numerous different teas that you can be able to get, as well as Dungeons & Dragons and Creepypasta themed teas. And if you ask for the MrCreepyPasta dabbing sticker, if you get a MrCreepyPasta Dark and Stormy Night tea, then you get the special little sticker that I threw together. And of course, I want to give a very, very, very big shout out to all of my followers on Patreon, especially Bloodlace, Peter Bowie, AcidSystem, F, Alan Hyper, Brennan Matthews, Mary Massacre, Janine Hook, Paul Livingston, Seth Joseph Richards, Ashlyn, Deadeye Nick, Azad Hosenbokus, Rick Dance, Bryce Charles, Luminen Walker, Sheri Morgan, Jake Mcnee, Victoria Helton, BDH9294, Melinda S, Phinney, Nathan, Dante Rowe, Jane Rennalls, acebandg, Ryan Kellum, Bobby J. CAVANAUGH, Barbara Biggs, BellaBailey, Ninja Grace, Dad Obsessed Trash, Suzanne Grow, Tommy Walters, Tater Chip, Onbu Op Willie, Sarah Gree, Yuri Catslash, Randy, Brad Gustafson, Sean Tristan Markham, B. Lisa Tyser, Jose Rodriguez, Adagio Rose, Peaceful Buddha, Azarine Fox, Freddy Krueger, Ho Gunkchi, Justin Johnson, King Hades F13, Michael Scarborough, James Lowe, Someone You Love, Nina Smith, Rafael Rodriguez, and Chance Burnett. You guys, as always, are the real MVP, and I can't thank you enough for helping me get to where I am now and, generally keeping me alive. So thank you all so much for supporting on Patreon. Thank you everybody in the description for supporting on Patreon. And thank you everybody out there who's listening and watching somewhere across the many reaches of the internet. Have a good night and sweet dreams.